19th February, 2:38 p.m., Briar Road. Hello, antagonists and anti-heroes. My name is TV Sky, and welcome back to Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Specifically, we're playing through the first game, and we're in the middle of investigation. And I have a feeling I know who's going to be helping us with that investigation. But let's see. Looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation. Perfect. So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible. Yeah, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. There's nothing new to discuss. No. We will just give him... Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? Now, it's been a day and a half since I last recorded, so God knows if I'll remember what kind of frickin' voice I gave Gregson. I think it was a bit of a horrible mismatch. I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign get-abouts, that's for sure. We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson. What? For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship? Give that here. Give that here at once. Come on, hand it over. That's right. Hey, don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee, that's what it is. An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean... That's right, for the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me, every time. Yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly. Of course, using my name with my say-so just make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still. I'm sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. Never you mind that. So, what do you want to know then, eh? Sorry? Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I just there won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings. The little knife-wielding moustache Japanese fella. He lives in a right old oval. It's just over there, look. Well, the first floor of that house in the corner where the that wreck of a bicycle's propped up. That is nearby indeed. If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Garadeb. Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards. Here. I mean it, you tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes. Don't worry, Inspector, we will. Goodbye for now, then. And long live your ladyship. More loyalty to Iris than to the Queen, I respect it. Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left. Yeah, so, then shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? Definitely. Oh, no. Move. So, initially I thought that maybe Natsume would be like a Westerner who was a complete weeb. Like a complete weeaboo, but no, it looks a lot more like he's an Easterner who's a complete teaboo. At least as far as the design of this room goes. 19th February, Mr. Natsume's lodgings. May I help you? Yeah, would this be the residence of Mr. John Garadeb? Indeed it would, sir. And who may I say is calling? My name is Yosuke Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Sosuke Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. 1 moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garadeb. Did you see that, Mr. Sato? That was a real-life English maid! I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. It certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it? We need only to meet a butler and the experience will be complete. Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garadeb will see you now. This way. Love that character design. Well, there's a crescent. Oh, it's not Natsume's lodgings, really. This is Garadeb, who seems to have a bit of a thing for... Is he going to be like an American Civil War guy? Oh, geez. Oh, good lord. Has he been practicing shooting at the wall? Okay. Kitty, What the hell kind of voice will I want to give him? Is it just me, or is are his eyebrows kind of similar to Gregson's?
Got that here. John Garadeb at your service.
Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer.
Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knee a few years back at the Battle of Mayland, don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-comings.
So he's a retired soldier.
It's a hell of a job getting up and down stairs now, I can tell you. Don't get as much as you can imagine.
Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs. You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo.
Do you think so?
Well, Mr. Garadeb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal.
No, it was nothing. The medal is just a folderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so grudgingly I displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Ah! Dash it all, woman, be careful!
Oh, dearie me, I do beg your pardon, sir.
You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands.
Damn it, his accent is all over the place right now, I need to...
Sergeant?
Maybe, like, given that he's a military man.
You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands.
I should be more careful, sir.
So anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now.
No, that's wrong too.
Living the quiet life, though.
Yeah, I see.
Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right?
Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us.
Only too pleased, naturally, especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blighty. We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So this case is very much in the public eye, as it were.
Oh, is it? With your pipe? Jesus.
Even as some famous detective poking around, you know, this old house, would you believe?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Could have been, didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business.
Oh, but you have a copy of Ranced magazine here, so...
No.
Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak. So he's in Sosuke-san's room?
It's a bally nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. And like all this fuss, it's jolly unsettling.
About Mr. Natsume then, Mr. Garadeb, please, do tell us.
Yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week.
Oh, just 1 week? So he moved in very recently then?
I have 2 lodges most of the time, one on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor became available a week ago, you see. They've been... Dash it all, Joan, to be careful.
Oh, my goodness. I'm terribly sorry, sir. if you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him.
Oh, gee, I wonder if it's because he's foreign or something. Is that why, lady?
Oh, why? He seemed to have the most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you asked me. I said to myself, John, that man is trouble. Sooner or later he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything.
We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure.
Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all? Yes, oh yes, indeed there was.
She's dying to tell us. Had you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume?
Oh my word, yes, the man was shadier than an orchard. Could you elaborate? Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is, more than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to that old bookshop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. The funny little man is up long past the time anyone else in the house has gone to bed too.
I mean, that's not suspicious, that's just normal, right? I say as a YouTuber. Oh, I see.
He changes a man on the ground floor, goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known that Japanese fella to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
Ah, well, doesn't that mean you're awake also to check on when he goes to bed?
Could you clarify something, I wonder? What, pray? How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine? Oh, I'd understand that neither of the lodgers live on this floor in the house, is that correct?
That's right. They're both below us on the first floor on street level.
Then how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed.
Good grief, Joan, be more careful, woman.
Oh my goodness, sir, I'm terribly sorry.
Something doesn't add up here. It seems that the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out of the window at around that time? In the window?
Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just at the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garadeb household. So I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see. It would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh, I see.
Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then?
So, such as?
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated.
Yes? Was there something then? Oh, well, there's nothing particularly significant, but around that sort of time... For the love of God, Joan, what were you doing?
Oh, dearie me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
Does she just have an infinite supply of tea and nothing? Do be more careful, woman.
Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Narrow Hollow.
Yes?
I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really? Mr. Garadeb? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been. Well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing... Joan, dash it all, what's the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir? Nothing happened.
Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to acquire an eventful meal. Joan?
That's right, Mr. Garadeb.
What's the matter with these two? Well, Joan clearly has a secret she doesn't want out. And she's clearly a little bit more in charge.
Then Mr. Garadeb lets on.
It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what?
I wish I knew.
Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on?
No, why, certainly. This fellow is on the first floor.
And Mr. Shams is investigating there even as we speak?
Yes, they told me that's his name. Asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Shams' services?
That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around? In Mr. Natsume's room, I mean.
I don't see why not. It's just down on a flight of stairs.
Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we'll have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we?
Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Shams again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more.
Let's examine around.
That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner.
Yeah, it's displayed with some pride, I would say, although it bothers me that it's not straight.
Nothing in this room is. That old thing.
Sorry?
I should be glad to see the back of it, but the general would turn in his grave if I dispose of it. The wall's the best place for it. Keeps the bally thing out of my way.
So it's just been polished to a shine by accident, I suppose?
There appears to be an inscription on the medal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, "For distinguished participation."
Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be in line for.
Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course, but the common knowledge in military circles.
Spoken like a man who doesn't have a lot of them.
That portrait of Mr. Garadeb is glaring at me, I swear.
Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garadeb as well?
Yeah, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well.
He seemed to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket.
Seemed to come back? What do you mean?
Well, the chap who runs the place is a bally wizard, went in to sell him something and came out with that thing. In point of fact, now that I think about it, I rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need.
The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements.
Susato-san doesn't pull her punches, or her throws for that matter.
So I've been wondering about this bit here, where it seems to be the dropped candle and burnt floor.
Look at that enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely.
Yeah, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder?
I'm going to have a very quick look. Just a little peek.
Maybe let's not, Miss Susato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea.
But yeah, dropped candle, clear scorch marks on the floor. There was some sort of a fire here. So maybe the reason why the maid doesn't want us to know about it is because she's the one who dropped the candle. Something along those lines.
That's a full-sized cannon. What's it doing in here?
Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica.
Oh, that old thing. It's a little more than a toy.
Sorry?
The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know, any may not attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house.
Really? It isn't overkill?
Be prepared, I would say. You never know what this twist as well is going to throw at you next, boy.
Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garadeb?
Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Drives them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the cannon there, Joan tells me, which rather proves my point, I feel.
It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame.
Is that a British Army uniform, really?
That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it?
It's clearly been well looked after, though.
That old thing? Not much better than rags, really.
Oh?
Oh, that ceremonial garb of my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past. Me would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have the odd piece of memorabilia lying around, does it?
Oh, I see.
Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. But yeah, no, it's like he's that kind of guy who's like, oh well, I don't dwell on the past, and it's like I'm not one to get stuck on my old glories. Anyway, here's my conspicuously displayed collection of military memorabilia, all showcasing entirely nothing but my but my past. Are those mortar shells? They're enormous.
Oh, I hadn't noticed. What are they doing here?
Those old things. A couple of little rounds accidentally fired into the barracks during training, you know. Became a bit of a colourful regiment folklore, that incident.
You mean you deliberately hunted out the spent shells?
Well, I wouldn't say deliberately exactly. They're only scrap iron, after all, usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know when things might come in useful, do you?
Useful for what exactly?
Joan here did manage to knock one of the bally things on my foot the other day while she was dusting.
Oh no.
Hadn't shed a tear since 1869 before then, you know.
Maybe reconsider throwing them away?
This window looks out of Briar Road where the young woman was attacked.
Oh yeah, I can make out the policeman on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene.
The glass is rather murky, isn't it? You can't see very clearly.
Does this thing open at all, I wonder?
I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir.
Sorry?
As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you.
Someone opened a window at dusk in the middle of winter this time.
It seems very unlikely that these two would have seen anything of the incident then. Look at this crockery on display here. It's rather unusual, isn't it?
Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it delightful? Although the shelves seem to be broken and the crockery is, oh dear, it's in pieces.
It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice.
Ah, I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it.
Yeah, probably something like that. But let's not delve too deeply here.
So, missing candle from the candelabra, candle on the floor, scorch marks. Okay, there was a fire.
This old candle holder looks a little out of place here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you're right. It's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's almost completely black for some reason.
Oh, that old thing, yes. Just a cheap piece of ironmongery. Give crack later.
Oh.
Used it when I was studying, don't you know, for my commission. I know it's old, hardly worth hanging on to, really, but, well, it still has its uses sometimes.
Of course.
Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it?
The memories, Mr. Naruhodo. Memories. Oh, look. What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand.
Lined up? Looks more like someone has half demolished them to me.
Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It is quite the English way. It is Mr. Garadeb's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful.
Oh, wait a minute, though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand.
Oh, well, naturally, and it would never do to waste the leftovers. So whatever Mr. Garadeb doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up.
How magnanimous of you. Ooh, books. I notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garadeb. Do you enjoy reading?
Never experienced the London winter, boy, but the nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of the fire with a jolly good book.
Oh, there's a copy of Ramp's magazine here, I see. No doubt Mr. Garadeb enjoys the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, too.
The great detective has a great many followers, it would seem.
And is that it? Have we exhausted the room? I believe so. Yeah, that looks more like Mr. Natsume's room. 19th February, Mr. Natsume's room.
What? Just look at this place.
And smell it. Oh, it's so musty in here. No windows.
I suppose it's the mountain of old books that are responsible for that.
I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life.
No, me neither.
It's so dark in here, too.
Is that the window over there?
Well, it was the window, I think. Yeah, once upon a time. For some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So, this is where Mr. Natsume lives.
By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you?
No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garadeb told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating.
Well, he's probably lost somewhere in the mountain of books in there. Hello, kitty cat.
Hi. Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master's away.
I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolumn Mike, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain?
Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan.
That's made me feel homesick now.
Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days. That desk seemed to be wedged into a crevasse between the mountains of books on either side.
I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well.
Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books.
Oh yeah, Mr. Natsume's name is on it. Look, and the date of the purchase? 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident.
That's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books.
Well, that's good to have. We can now prove where he was and when.
Oh look, it's a beckoning cat from home.
It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that Maneki Nico all the way from Japan with him.
Or Maneki Nico.
I think you're hardly in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. You're forgetting that enormous Dharma doll that you brought in your luggage.
Well, I mean, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted to look at your arm.
Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him.
Well, it's not doing a very good job so far, is it?
You mustn't say such things.
I didn't say a word! Why are my eyes such a giveaway?
Book Mountain.
Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling.
They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty.
With this volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you?
No. What a dreamy idea.
A bad dream, maybe.
Oi, got a bit of spit in my throat there.
For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine that the book that's at the bottom of the pile will now ever be read again.
Ah, so reading it is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us.
I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of tea ceremony philosophy. Could you even call this a window?
I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although all that remains is a frame around some bricks now.
So really, it's just a wall then, isn't it? But why would anyone deliberately break it up like that?
I'm afraid I have no idea. Ah! Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design on a fit of whimsy.
That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive.
It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying.
Look at all these balls of paper on the floor. There are notes scrawled all over them, in English. It looks like the waste paper basket is so full they've just fallen out.
I think Mr. Natsume must have been deeply immersed in his research, don't you?
Or deeply averse to tidying up his mess.
I wouldn't like to speculate which is closer to the truth.
Oh, there he is. I knew he'd show up.
Ah! Look, Mr. Naruhodo!
There he is. Where did he appear from?
He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope you won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes!
Ah, you two. Good day. Now, let me see. Where was it that we met?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Borea.
Yes, of course, the Borea. And let me see. What happened on that voyage?
It was Kazuma Azogi. He died. Tragically. But you were a great help to us.
Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Azogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it?
Oh. Well, you seem to remember something of it, at least. What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr.
Oh, no, my dear madam. Hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo. And Mr. Sasato.
Almost there. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes.
I lose the first round. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes.
So, they apprehended Sosuke-san in that short of amount of time?
I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollections of my past involvements a little.
A little?
It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can descend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet.
Please, there's no need to quote yourself.
I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately, my associate pens them beautifully.
He means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned.
Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madam, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case.
We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Sosuke Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road.
Natsume. Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines.
But Miss Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little?
I'm sorry, Miss Sasato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean.
What?
I can't believe he was looking Sasato-san squarely in the eye while feigning ignorance. I assure you, I am not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension.
Oh, how?
I assure you that I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime.
But that doesn't make sense.
The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene.
Ah, a man seen fleeing.
There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit, then? That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I find myself quite lost in bibliography. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure. No, no, no. Oh dear. Ah, tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yeah, Mr. Garadeb, a retired military man. It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the Great British Institution that is the services. And it's the first time I've ever met a maid from the Great British Institution that is service. I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid. Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer. And so, conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein. Betoken their social standing? Sorry? Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family.
Goodness, how extraordinary.
As you can appreciate, for those in the precarious boundary between middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is one of the first importance.
Yeah, because Britain's class system is so good and smart, and not an absolute fucking unholy terror that still ruins that island. Or those isles, rather.
I had no idea. And it is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically, in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garadeb. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am as yet unable to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost on what he means to say.
So Joan isn't a maid, she's his wife or his sister or something.
This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later.
Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one.
Ah, but sooner or later, as I said.
I don't believe that's the issue here.
About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window. Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax.
Oh, right, the fucking window tax, that's right. He'll explain it, but yeah.
Window tax? What's that?
Surely not a tax on windows.
Precisely that.
Oh my goodness.
Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family home perhaps, rapidly closed windows up.
Yeah, it was meant to be a kind of property tax that theoretically would tax people with larger properties more. But what it actually did was it introduced a perverse incentive that just made it really, really profitable to close as many windows as possible in whatever buildings you owned, which meant, unfortunately, that a lot of the landlords would close up a lot of the windows of the smaller apartments and rooms that they were renting out, which led to just absolutely terrible indoor climate and miserable living conditions for their tenants who were too poor to go anywhere else. So the window tax unfortunately created just worsened everything for every poor person in London. And it's like it's one of those little historical things, like the government sort of like, we'll tax them by the windows because then we'll only levy a tax that will affect the richest people, and the poorest people will be fine. And then no, actually the rich just find a way to make it worse for the poor without really taking a hit themselves.
While the rich open windows here, there, and everywhere, in an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money.
Also that, yeah.
How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light.
Indeed, decease was rife as a result. So, some 40 years ago or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example.
I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend to living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps.
It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price.
Because the room is so awful, I should think.
Apparently Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago.
Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation.
Oh?
Still, that is of little relevance here, a matter not worthy of further attention.
Are you sure? I'm curious now.
Well, I believe I've told you all I can now.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law?
You remembered that, did you?
Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? On what grounds?
Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday.
Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly, too.
The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients, to trust in their innocence?
Yes, trust.
Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he?
My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea.
Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate?
Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them.
Oh, I see.
Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, and one more thing.
Oh, and what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us.
I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance of this case, but I'm quite sure that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something.
Mr. Garadeb is? Yeah. Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he?
Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case.
Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence.
No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garadeb's secret.
Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not.
It's an Ace Attorney game, it will be.
But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo.
Huh. A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. And I guess we can talk to him again, but presumably he's just going to be absorbed in his book.
"19th February, Mr. Garadeb's room.
You pair again. Tell me, what's the detective chap? I forget his name. You're still hard at work down there.
Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Oh, yes, rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid.
Says the man who has the frickin' mag. Like, it's absolutely his thing.
Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there.
Oh, jolly good show. Another cup of tea, if you would please, Joan.
3, 2, 1.
Now then, why don't you tell me what... For the umpteenth time, woman, will you watch what you're bolly well doing?
I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir.
Yes, of course. Pridefully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave, if you'd be so kind.
Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all your assistance.
Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out.
According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garadeb is hiding something. And since no other avenues of investigation seem open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging.
Of course he's there.
Yeah, of course he is.
But yeah, I've examined everything else in the room, right? So, like, Herlock is about the only thing.
What's he doing over there?
Mr. Sholmes!
Aha! We meet again, my dear fellows.
Good gracious. When you sneak in here?
Herlock Sholmes, sir, at your service.
Whatever we're doing over by the window?
I'm given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madam. Yet, sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up there. Keeping an eye to one's windows at dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. Ah, and one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me? I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain great detective's great mind. Wait, he's not talking about... Is he? I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon.
Do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
There is a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo. I think so. There is just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. Mr. Garadeb, though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. I'm afraid, sir, that it is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I've been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements.
I beg your pardon?
The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you.
Mr. Naruhodo, look!
Oh, the old man's broken out in a cold sweat. Unbelievably, it seems Mr. Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on.
How could you possibly...
How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For, in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am king of the beasts. And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Yeah. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? And he looks Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garadeb, leads us directly to the answer.
He's going to point to the lion, isn't he? Yeah.
The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best. A fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts.
What is this piffle, I ask you?
In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India which you tried to keep in this very house.
Well, he's got a bit of a slap on his face there, doesn't he?
Yet, living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence.
Well,
Yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to, madam?
me?
I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain with one glance in your direction.
It is?
Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue to the beast's current whereabouts. For protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show.
Huh.
Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garadeb.
Oh, wait, did he hire the maid from the circus, like, just to perform being a maid for him or something? Oh, either way, should be interesting to ferret out.
And Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park, I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe.
I certainly did not.
I believe I have made my point. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire.
We might have to take another stab at that one, Herlock.
Now, Mr. Garadeb, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast.
Right. No, so he didn't hire her, but she's definitely like his sister or his wife or something.
Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has cost you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Amid fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage.
Nonsense, man. I simply...
But what, we must now ask ourselves, is the true cause of this pain? And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills that has given the pain rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment.
Huh.
For cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on your financial circumstances of your household. And so you had no choice but to let it go.
Yes, well...
Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last, unimaginable attack.
Unimaginable?
The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dear me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes.
Or maybe the candelabra, actually.
Huh?
There is no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it, or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread,
let them eat cake. It wasn't, actually. Marie Antoinette never said that. It's a quote that's been misattributed variously to a whole bunch of people in power, who were held to be responsible for the starvation among their subjects at various times, like different noblemen and people like that. So, Marie Antoinette never said it, but it's very much an accurate expression of the attitude that, like, peasants rather justifiably felt that the rich had towards their suffering, because, like, there was a lot of famine that happened that didn't need to happen because the rich decided to, like, sell grain for money for their wars and, like, things like that. Anyway.
Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact.
Whatever do you mean?
Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There is only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this beastly puzzle.
Let's take another run at that one.
What is the matter with you, Joe? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garadeb. I'm afraid I didn't notice.
My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason that your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times, too.
Oh,
Mr. Sholmes, sorry to butt in again, but could I make an observation? Why, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it? Again. Well, your deductions just now... Do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room of this size? Indeed, it is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense.
But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well?
but if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garadeb and his maid would have been hurt, or worse.
Ah, that's where you're stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against that beast, using that large cannon.
I thought you said that they sold the lion to the circus.
And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I have ever heard of a lion that drinks tea.
Ah, my dear Mr. Sato, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they are infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea.
Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine again.
I had a feeling that was coming.
A slight massage, that's all Mr. Sholmes' deductions need. You can do it.
Excellent. I've been waiting for my trusty partner in deduction to step forward, Mr. Naruhodo.
We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation.
Please never go into gossip blogging.
At least that's what I want to believe.
Let us start again, from the beginning, of Sherlock Holmes's Logic and Reasoning Spectacular.
I'll do the voice again.
It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garadeb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by this
I really didn't see the lion thing coming.
No, but if you observe Mr. Garadeb's reaction, It rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok here in this room.
Yeah, something with a very fierce nature.
But it couldn't have been a lion transported from India.
So what was it then?
We must follow Mr. Garadeb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer.
Wait a minute. It's his wife. It's his wife!
What's this photograph?
It appears to be from Mr. Garadeb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he?
He does, but you can't make out his bride.
No, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face.
I wonder what happened.
Probably best not to delve too deeply there. Okay, so I needed to... So he looked this way, so we need to photograph frame... So the bride, then.
The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride.
I feel like that should have been, like, enough with just the... Oh, the photograph behind the statue rather than...
Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garadeb. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms, and note the considerable horsepower they must contain. Indeed, surely any woman of such powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast.
Well, Herlock, would you have a little delicacy, maybe?
Honor might be stretching a point. Too late. The fact remains that the beast which so clearly savaged this room was your wife, Mr. Garadeb. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence.
So, a bit of a marital dispute.
Well, yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam.
Me?
I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but explain to me with one glance in your direction.
It is?
Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current wearer.
The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself.
Well, I don't know about fragile.
Oh, dear. Anyway, Mr. Shams is quite right. There's no sign of a Mr. Garadeb anywhere.
But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue that this maid is trying to hide.
I wonder where Mr. Garadeb's wife could be.
Oh, I found the wedding ring. Sizable shiner on the side of Garadeb's face there.
Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts.
Oh!
Indeed it does. That flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown in the hand of Mr. Garadeb's bride in this photographic print. In other words, you're no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Garadeb's lucky bride. You are Mrs. Garadeb herself.
Am I?
Oh, well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmise, this is the wife. Yes, my Joan. Rather let yourself go, you might say, but she was a bally peacock.
Don't be an asshole to your wife, dude. What the fuck? It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you are a retired army man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms.
Sir, well, bless you.
I would assume, therefore, that you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct?
Well, it's not right, I tell you. I was second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. The man had deserted prior, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a maid, a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ.
Privileged classes, blah. Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff at all. Though in my considered opinion, such concerns about appearances are a folly. You mean Mr. Garadeb has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Garadeb?
Only in company, obviously. But listen here, this must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please.
So she's not very happy being made to play maid for him, which I can sympathize with, frankly. Now, Mr. Garadeb, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has cost you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders. You feel... Mr. Sholmes is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garadeb's wife a beast. Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable. Yeah, no fucking kidding! But Mrs. Garadeb is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he? Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm seems to be propping up his head. Has some other significance, then? According to Mr. Sholmes, Garadeb's pain is tangible, though. What could that pose of his really signify? Well... Oh my, look at that bright red mark. Gosh, that's quite something, and clearly made by someone's hand. Yeah, Mr. Garadeb has been slapped on the face, it seems hard. I've never seen such a clearly defined mark. Whoever could have done such a thing? Well, there's a very limited number of candidates, I'd say.
Take that!
Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. And of course, the deliverer of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade. Was you, Madame Joan Garadeb?
Well, yes.
You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir.
What's it? Oh, the places. How are you working that out, man?
Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us even once. To keep your other side from view.
Well,
Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garadeb to fly into a rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills that is... Did Mr. Sholmes say that the bills were all for lion fodder? Yeah, but now we've established that the lion never existed, which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garadeb's wife. Mr. Naruhodo, she's a person, not a thing. Yeah, dude. Yeah, well... She's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap around the face. One so hard that it left a perfect hand mark, in fact. Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with so much force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer to that question.
oh,
Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here, look. Mr. Garadeb is clearly an avid reader.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark.
Oh no, it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary.
And look, next to the signature here.
Lip marks, made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture.
Don't get any ideas, Asada-san.
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
So, this bookmark is actually a love note then, huh? My.
Oh dear, this plate has been smashed to pieces, and nobody seems inclined to tidy up the mess.
Perhaps it's some sort of high art?
Really, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, anyone who has a cannon on display in their living room is clearly a little eccentric.
Yes, let's call it eccentricity.
Anyway, let's, anything else we can sort of look at? Stack of books? No. I mean, it's the love note, obviously. Yeah, it's this love note that's given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you, yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here.
I don't know the Bolly woman.
You don't know her?
That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there.
It was just in there, you say.
That's right, that's what happens.
A likely story.
At least give her her name now. She's not a maid anymore.
No, listen to it, show, no thing. I explained at the time. I bought the book at that second-hand place, and that note must have already been in there.
So, the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean?
That's right, that's what happens.
A likely story.
For heaven's sake, woman, look at the name. It's written to James. My name is, in case you'd forgotten, is John.
A likely story.
Are you questioning my name now?
And there we have it. Arouse the suspicion of the female heart, and you unleash a beast with the— oh, come on. Most ferocious bite. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, really? Really? It's a tedious old trope. Also, like, so this is a comedy fantasy game. We don't take it too seriously, but also, like, a woman who's, like, angry or jealous or whatever, if she beats her spouse or her partner, that is domestic abuse. Like, that is domestic abuse just as surely as a husband beating his wife is. So, just thought I'd bring that up. But of course, fantasy video game, we don't take it that seriously. It just it's very easy as a man to sort of fall into the idea that if a woman, like, gets jealous and hits you, like, that's just what women be like. But it's not. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last, unimaginable attack.
Oh, unimaginable?
The aftermath of which can clearly be seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, hiccups.
Oh, dearie me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst?
Oh,
This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the tower.
but surely Mrs. Garadeb didn't eat the carpet.
No, of course not. But there doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray that this room is in is a result of her wild temper.
No, that's true. So, this is the very last part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction that we need to fix. We need only to follow Mrs. Garadeb's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer.
All right, let's see what we can see.
Yes.
Not a lot of angles. So, circus handbill, tower of cakes, candlestick.
This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it? The base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. It looks to me like even the slightest knock would make it topple over.
Oh dear, that will be dangerous.
Wait, take a closer look at this. There's one candle missing.
Yes, I didn't notice that before.
How did you not notice?
Why is that, I wonder? Why is one candle from the 3 missing from its holder?
This is an advertising handbill for the circus. Batty's Circus. It's in a nearby park.
Isn't this the same as the one we saw earlier? The one that was folded up in Mrs. Garadeb's pocket?
Perhaps the very great circus lovers?
It couldn't be that the Hungry Lion is somehow involved again here, could it?
Oh dear, I do hope not.
But no, I don't think it's the handbill. I think it's the candlestick because...
The carpet here has been ripped to shreds.
Yes, and according to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, the tears match exactly those made by an Indian lion's teeth.
Oh, look here.
What is it?
If you look closely at the edge, you can see scorch marks.
Oh yes, so you can.
In that case,
Oh, in that case, perhaps the carpet wasn't eaten in the normal sense at all.
let's rethink this with that in mind.
Don't suppose I can select the candlestick down there? No?
Take that!
Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course, the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yeah, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away.
Scorch marks?
It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Garadeb's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused a candle to fall from the holder. And in seconds, the carpet was alight and the whole corner of the room in flames. For the most ferocious beast in this world is neither a violent lion or a vengeful woman, but fire. I'll let it slide. And in this room, that ferocious beast bared its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire.
Mr. Sholmes, yep. I salute you!
Aw, that's cute.
There is these dash language that you know, nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there.
And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material.
For which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems.
Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark. And beast is most certainly now described.
Here we go again. And the carpet, was that destroyed by fire when a candle fell on the floor?
Pray to say it was. It happened in the blink of an eye, you know.
I hope whoever's being taken care of by that ambulance is okay.
The whole place filled with smoke. They couldn't see a bally thing. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames.
You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you.
Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. We had to hide the mess behind the screen for the time being.
Over there, Mr. Garadeb?
Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you'll allow me. Oh, jeez.
And all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke.
Gosh.
Then the wife started hurling things at me.
What a terrible sight it must have been.
There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite, a book called The Lion's Pride.
The Lion's Pride. Ah, yes, your notorious love of big cats coming through again.
I sure know the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest.
It did. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage.
Mr. Sholmes's deductions turned out to be correct once again.
It can only be described as a great British wonder.
I tell you, it was total carnage. Flames everywhere, and the old stick in full fettle.
Out of interest, what time of day was that?
Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see, around 5 o'clock, I think.
Huh.
So, at exactly the same time, as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below.
There's even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. The whole of Blighter could have been flattened outside my window at that moment. I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing.
Oh, really?
Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. What can I do for you? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garadeb's situation now. But what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? Well, like you said, there's no... I can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired army man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be irrelevant or not. It's gonna be relevant, don't worry. I just knew you were gonna say that. Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of two categories, those relevant to the case and those not. That makes no sense to me. Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry? Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over. Oh no, is it that time already?
If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to.
So that's it. No more time to think.
Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now? I must prepare supper for Mr. Garadeb.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry.
Thank you both very much for your time.
Sosuke-san will be waiting for us, and I'm gonna have to give him an answer. Yeah, you are. "19th February, Briar Road."
It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison.
Yes, I know. Let's hail a cab. Oh.
What's the matter?
It looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garadeb's house. What in the Sam hell?
I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers.
Oh my god.
Who are you killing, you old man, you rum-looking nimny-pimney?
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Who's this Horatio?
I kind of, like, just with that jaw, I feel like he
Who's that Horatio fella? Hey, what are you on about?
I don't know. I don't know what kind of accent do you give him? What kind of voice, really? More like, it's like, you should have your jaw forward, surely. So it's like, who's this Horatio fellow, eh? What are you on about? Just push the jaw forward, see what happens.
Excuse me.
What the? Who are you now?
I'm sorry. It just looks as though there might be some problem here. And my associate here, Mr. Yonosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see.
A lawyer? What?
If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I've studied English law.
Yeah. Fine, I'll be on my way for today. But you mark my words. This ain't over yet.
Get thee to a nunnery.
Do I look like a blooming nun to you?
I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle. Thank you.
What was all that about?
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
I'm not Horatio either.
Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here, in the Garadeb residence? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode.
Mr. Garadeb mentioned that he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor?
Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle of words ne'er could there be.
Sorry? Battle, you say?
Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night.
I see.
I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances, at least. So, fair maiden, so, good gentleman, I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well! I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room.
It seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. With Sosuke-san and that man as lodgers, the Garadeb house certainly is full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage.
Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return.
Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over.
That was a thing. 19th February, 6:31 p.m., local prison, cell number 9. He's in a bit of a state, isn't he? Oh, it's you. You're here. You came. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched.
We're so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, no, think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I'd purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never failing Nipponese.
Oh, now, let's not get carried away.
Oh, I quite agree. There is nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. Is this Sikhs? On the other hand, it is through friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the fact. Such is my belief, at least. It's you! The miserable, rotten spy, Herlock Sholmes!
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here?
I have no intention of doing anything per se, save observing, of course.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring. Gloomful room? At least your accommodations here offer a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight, and it cost me not a penny. Oh, you! How dare you, Herlock Sholmes!
I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life has been damned!
What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo?
He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean?
And there is much truth in Mr. Moustache's words. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say. For the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that supposed to mean?
Miss Natsume, what did you mean by what you said just now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed?
Oh no, why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, I see. That's really agitated him.
You know me. The trial really is cursed somehow.
You're referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey?
The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me. Summarize it succinctly in 16 salient words.
No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution. Ever. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14, 16, 18 words.
Oh my goodness, can it really be true? Oh, that was 16 words except, was it?
Did I just miscount? Hang on. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Oh, that was 16. I just miscounted. Must have counted something twice.
Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances.
The game, by the way, it seems to me that what the game is doing is that it's like pushing you towards like, oh, Baron Van Seeks, like if he can't get people in court, he'll kill them. Like that seems to be the idea that the game is kind of pushing on you. Mr. McGilded.
What?
Ah, I'm impressed, Mr. Sato. You have an eye for detail.
Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it can't be that, having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Seeks killed the man himself.
Okay, well, it's just gonna come right out and say it then. Okay.
Oh no, he couldn't have, surely.
You have some wonderful notions.
Sorry?
The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow.
Oh, yes. Why, of course he is.
Of course he is. Then why are you trying to scare me?
It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis.
What on earth do you mean by that? Okay, let's hear it.
Van Seeks is quite an exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception.
That's good.
Sosuke-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, while the jury offers a public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system, whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion in particular is somewhat easily manipulated.
Right.
Criminals, and corrupt lawyers for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling impostors as witnesses, and so on. By such underhanded means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury. Which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail.
But it means that the wrong verdict can be passed.
And sadly, is from time to time, my dear madam. It is simply the reality of the situation.
And that's all right? I mean, in these situations, like, broadly speaking, the government should have to work really fucking hard to put someone in prison or kill them. Like, they should be up against some challenges. They should be forced to present compelling evidence. Like, beyond any reasonable doubt. And that's why we have this, like, that's where the idea of being, the right to being tried by a jury of your peers comes from, is so that, like, people who share your perspective, your interests, like, will sit in adjudication of, like, whether or not the government is allowed to deprive you of your freedom or kill you. Of course, if, for example, you are a black defendant in a United States court, and your jury is mostly white, that can cause problems because of factors outside of the confines of the courtroom, let's put it that way. Or if you are a policeman, and therefore in a position of social authority, and your word is being weighed against someone who has a criminal history, even if they are telling the truth, and the policeman is lying, a jury might not see it that way. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zieks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months, they all disappear. It is most striking. Disappear? But how? Ah, by all manner of misfortunes, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever, or perhaps attacked by highwaymen. Oh, no. All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, I knew it. A dead Dodo done for doomed! So there's absolutely no evidence connecting Van Zieks to the deaths of those people then. They all die from completely different circumstances, under different conditions, and at different times. I wonder, perhaps, if since we have a Herlock, maybe we'll also have a Mames Joriarty? When you said accursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Garadeb's house, I assume. Do you mean to say you believe the place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain. But I'd only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself. That didn't take long, then. Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time from dawn to dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away.
You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time.
This is a thing, by the way. There's a thing sort of colloquially referred to as Paris syndrome, and it's essentially a form of really, really violent culture shock that is said, like, I don't believe it's been, like, extensively studied, but it's said to affect especially Japanese tourists and Japanese expatriates who move to places like London, like Paris, because the culture there is so vastly different, especially from the image that they have in their heads of what the media portrays those places, like these places of class and refinement and, oh, the city of lights and the city of romance and so on. And they arrive and they find that the people there are, well, I mean, we know what they're like. We're Westerners. And it is so foreign to their cultural expectations that it causes like a really severe state of culture shock that for some people, especially older people, can be so severe that it actually, like, it becomes a form of mental illness. It can cause hospitalizations, severe depression. I think at one point I read that it was even supposed to cause psychosis to some extent, and people have to be expensively repatriated back home to recover because, like, just the culture, the way that people behave, the way that, like, the social rules are manifested causes such intense anxiety in people that it, like, disables them. It's a little apocryphal. It's like one of those things that you hear about, but which, as far as I know, hasn't been, like, scientifically described, but it seems to be sort of what they're referencing here. I've had to move a number of times. Most recently to that room of Briar Road a week ago now.
Yeah, why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient.
The rent is cheap. I have so little money, it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed. Oops." He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late, so I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it, but if not, don't mention it in the first place."
Yeah, well said.
But it was true. It was all true.
You mean the room really is cursed then?
Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole. My sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I wake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits.
If only there was someone...
Oh, if only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really, no one at all?
To believe. Yeah. To believe. Mr. Sholmes? Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo. Pray, what can I do for you? It's about the case on the SS Buria, if you recall. The Buria. Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yeah. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is, why? Why did you believe me? I see. Yes, you mean... Because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found with the victim in a locked room. Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. I think perhaps that you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in.
What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
I make up my own mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse, in my opinion. Meaning, whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself.
Yes, he's right. He's right, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
Ah, shit, fuck, goddammit, I hate when I... Whether or not I can believe myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You are so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe. Already? Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me?
Oh dear, there's never enough time, is there?
Mr. Natsume? If you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you.
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
As I said, I only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday. And although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial.
Something crucial?
What to believe in. The defendant, justice, or the truth. How to believe, even. But I think I finally worked it out. I've decided I must believe in myself above all else. To trust my instincts. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court.
Look, I'm student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end, with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow.
As I said when we first met,
I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me, in my native tongue. Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was, in many ways, made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Miss Asado?
Yes?
Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court?
Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant.
The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind. But it's time to stop looking backwards. Kasuma believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. Sosuke-san has no one. He's all alone. So it's my job to help him, to fight in his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. And that seems like an excellent place to cut an episode. It looks like, these episodes work out to be about 2 hours long. That's about how long it takes to get through an investigation section or a trial section, so I'm just going to have to deal with that, even though I want them to be an hour. Such is life, such is how it goes. I mean, I could probably get through a lot faster if I wasn't trying to voice act my way through it, but I'm doing that for your enjoyment, and I hope you are enjoying it. And if you are, you can hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons down below. That's very helpful, because it, algorithm, blah, blah, and also you get to see when the next episode comes out. If you want to watch more episodes right now, then there's a good chance that they are available via YouTube memberships, because I upload episodes all in a bunch, and then I set them live, over time. So if you want to see whatever episodes have been uploaded, but not set live yet, memberships are there for that. I also have a Patreon, a merchandise store, and a tip jar. You can use them if you want to, but if you don't want to, or you're not in a position to be able to, you absolutely do not have to. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to wear a mask and wash your hands, take the vaccine when it comes, and try to act with solidarity towards those who are working to make the world a better place.